What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Code Peterson tutorial. We're doing some more GB Studio, and not too long ago, I put a poll up on my YouTube channel asking what people wanted more tutorials of, and everybody who replied back said GB Studio. So I appreciate those of you who voted, and I appreciate the feedback some of you typed in there too. Shout out to Chunky Stevo because he said, let's have something with a heads up display and something where we have multiple lives with the character. So because of his feedback, we're going to incorporate that into this video. And if you're looking for another channel to subscribe to, at Chunky Stevo has a great YouTube page. A lot of cool stuff there if you like to build things, fun tech projects and all that. He is a million times smarter than I am. I can guarantee you that. And you will learn a lot by visiting that YouTube page. But while we're here, we'll go ahead and start working on this project. So this is a simple one I've done. And like I said, we're going to do a heads up display with our life and then be able to get hit multiple times with our character. This is a little fun Mandalorian themed level. So recently they announced the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that's coming out in a few years. So it kind of inspired me for this project, I guess. So we have this simple level here, and then we have a stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper is a collision group 1, and when it collides with the player, it deactivates. Then we have a little Grogu container here with that little pod or whatever that Grogu rides in, Baby Yoda. And Baby Yoda is a collision group 3. And when Baby Yoda comes into contact with Mandalorian, then it will deactivate itself. And then our character that we have on here is just like simple little pixel art there. And this is where it starts at the beginning of the level. And I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and kind of see what happens here. You will notice in this that I have a few things when the player comes into contact with group 1, which is the enemy. It's going to knock, if the player's facing right and it contacts the enemy, it's going to knock Mando back 2 tiles. If he's facing the left, collides with an enemy, then it's going to go forward 2 tiles. And then there's a little screen shake in there also. All right, we'll run this so you can kind of see what we have so far with this tutorial. All right, so we'll go over here. I run into the enemy, and you can see we jump back or get knocked back, and then the screen shakes. If I go over here and collide, does the same thing there. All right, I run into Grogu. Grogu disappears, and you can see that he's animated also. That looks good to begin with. Now, if we want to have something where our character is hit multiple times, we need to deal with some variables on this. All right. To begin with, we'll select our scene 1, and I will go on init, and I will set variable. I'm going to search for set variable, and I can find variable set to value. Looks good. And I'll say when it has a value of 3, and it says local variable here, but I don't want it to be a local variable. I'll click this drop down menu and I will find my global variables. So when I make this multiple levels, the amount of lives stays with the character. So I'll select variable 0 of my global. And then if I move my mouse over here and click on that pencil, I'll rename this variable to life. On the start of this level, life is set to 3. Easy as that. All right, now when we look at the rest of this here, as in when our character runs into a stormtrooper. So for that, I can have my scene 1 selected, and I will make sure that Mando is showing up right here. And on player hit, and we go here to these areas. And if I add an event down here at the bottom, then I will select in here variable decrement by 1. All right. Now, once we have that on there and it says decrement local by 1, I want to click that drop down menu and select life. So that works well with that. Okay. Now, what happens when we get to 0 lives, right? So what I can do here is I can go down here to add event, and we will say if variable compare with value, and I will say if, and then we'll click the drop down menu here and select life. Say when it's equal to 0, then we can add event, and we'll go change scene, and then we'll say change scene to 1. And then on this, I might need to adjust that Y so that that blue rectangle is where my original starting point for my character is. Have it facing to the right. All right, now to try this thing out, we'll Control C, this stormtrooper, then I'll select the stormtrooper, Control C, and then Control V, and then Control V, and Control V. Put this one back here. All right, now if we save this and we run our program, we can run around. All right, so we ran into one there, ran into one there, we ran into one there. We hit that last one, we are at 0 lives, and now we are back here at the beginning of this level. And because we restarted the level, then these enemies are going to return back. All right, I think we can make that work. And then the other thing I want to do is down here on this trigger, I put a trigger down here that covers both of these holes. And on here I have on enter, I already have it on here, nice. Then it'll change the scene to 1. That way, no matter what, no matter how many lives I have left, if I fall down into the hole, it's over and I have to restart the level. We'll try that just to make sure. Fall down here, takes us back to the beginning. All right, so that's part 1 of this tutorial, having multiple lives. The next part is how do we add lives to this? We will select this Grogu here. And like we said, this is group 3. So I just wanted to make sure that it's collision group 3. So if we select scene 1 and we go on player hit and we select group 3 over here, then what we're going to do is we are going to increment life by 1. And I just was thinking ahead earlier and already did that one, I guess. So that is added into there. All right, now if we run with this character here, I run into this one, but then I pick up this, then we're going to be able to survive through those collisions from that. Okay, so Grogu gives us life. I think that works pretty well. And then we're now ready for our heads up display. I will copy. Maybe I'll move this enemy over here. I'll put this over here just so we have a few different sprites to work with and to experiment with when we run this program. Okay, so for the heads up display, if I click the drop down up here, I'll show you what I created in my sprites section. Well, I made it with Piscal and then I imported it. It's called Life is the name of the sprite that I made, and it's basically just a 4-framed animation. And I have 3 full hearts, and then I have 2 full hearts, and I have 1 full heart, and then I have no hearts left. I'm leaving it as a fixed direction on here. And then if I go up here to Game World, I will place this actor right up here in this upper left-hand corner. And I don't want it to be an arrow, so I'll click over here where it says Sprite Sheet, and I will select Life. And the movement speed, it's not going to be moving, so I'll keep it at 1. But animation speed, I want none because I don't want it rolling through the animation. I want it to be still. All right, so this is going to be our lives up here. If I run this program, it's going to stay in the same spot. So I move over here and it gets left off the screen. To fix that, we can go up here in the upper right hand corner when our tile is highlighted or selected, and I don't need a collision group for it, but there's a little pin up here, and if I click that pin and go pin to screen, and I go file save, and I run my program, I move over this way. Now it's always going to stay in that upper left hand corner throughout the whole game. I like that. That'll work pretty good. And now I need to have it change depending on what things I'm colliding with on here. All right. To do that, we'll select our little life sprite up here, and we will go on here to on update. All right, now if I go here and I find add event, the first thing that I will do is I will go compare variable with value, and I will say if, click the drop down arrow and find life, is equal to 3. Then we're going to add event, and we are going to change, or I'll search for frame. I think it's under frame. Set actor animation frame. And I want it to be the actor that is the 3 hearts. And that is frame 0, because your first frame is always going to be frame 0 with GB Studio. Now what I want to do is I want to go down here to else. And in this else, I'm going to add an event. And I'll search for if variable compare with value. And then I'll choose local, go down to life, and we will say if it is equal to 2, and then here we will add the event, and we'll search for frame. And then we will select animation frame 1. Now moving right along, we'll go into this next else, click the down arrow there. And here we will add an event, if variable compare with value, and we'll click the drop down menu and find life. And if it is equal to 1, then we'll add our event, search for frame, and this one we will change the frame to 2. So each one you have to be sure to nest it in that else in there. Remember those else's, you have to click the drop downs and do that. All right, so that's enough to get us started there. We have that on there. Now if we go here to else after that, I'll click this event, and then I will change scene, and the scene is going to be changed back to scene 1, and we'll move that arrow down to the bottom. Now I only have 3 hearts up here, so I can't, in this current state, I cannot add more hearts to it. So I should do something to prevent that number from getting bigger. So then down here at the very, very bottom, I will add an event, and I will go if variable, and we'll say if variable compare with value, and we'll click the local and select life, and we'll say is greater than 3. Then we'll add an event, and we will set value and select this variable set to value. Click the drop down, go to life, and we will set it equal to 3. So if we already have 3 hearts full and we pick up a Grogu, then instead of going 4, 4 is greater than 3, so it's going to rewrite it back to 3. Then down here we have this empty else statement. So to get rid of that, to clean it up, we can click this right arrow here, and we can select disable else. You can always bring it back later if we need to. All right, running this program now. So it appears that it is not running here, and I think what the problem is with this code, we already have it to where when we are down to 0 lives that the game is ended, and over here we use that in our else statement. We can go ahead and just delete that change scene event, and then on this if, we will disable that else also. Now I think we should be good. If I run the program now, there we go. We have our heads up display, we have this character. Now if we jump over this to begin with, and we pick up the life, technically we would be at 4 hearts. But now when we run into it, because it can't be greater than 3, so it still takes that one away right there. And then if I go over here and pick up this one, it's going to fill that heart up. I'll run into this enemy. I'll run into this enemy. And I'll run into this enemy, and we start at the beginning. If we go down here, then it jumps to the top, and we automatically fill that up there. And there we have it. This is the first heads-up display tutorial video that I'll do. There's other ways to make these also. The pro for this, a pro is that it's real easy, it works good, it's nice, and it's just kind of convenient. A con for it is when you get too many enemies kind of in one spot with these image sprites, it can get a little laggy at times when you're doing that. So that is something you would kind of want to keep in mind also with this method, but at least I think it gives you something to play around with. See if you can get it to work with yours, and try to find the most efficient way to where we have minimal lag, but we also still have this effective heads up display. Hopefully this helps out and gives some ideas for ways to do that. And like I said, we'll make more that have to do with this same topic, just doing it in a different manner. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate you all watching, and keep sending me new ideas. We'll catch you on another tutorial video.